Okay then guys, and welcome to the latest issue of Retro Gamer. This is issue 154 and I'm your editor Darran Jones.
And I'm your production editor, Drew Sleep.
And this is the issue. Yeah, it's 20 years of Quake. You feel really old now, don't you?
Daz, I've noted a mistake on the mag.
What's that?
These
Really?
nails aren't 9 inches long. Like, look at that. That's like 3 centimetres. Or like 1 and a bit inch.
Well, let's hope nobody picks up on that, then that is terrible. Okay, so we'll quickly look at the beginning of the issue. The Chameleon, the Coleco Chameleon, to give it its full name.
Or a mess.
Originally known as the Retro VGS, it was relaunched as a Coleco Chameleon at the beginning of the year, and after lots of controversy surrounding the fact that the so-called early prototypes of them were fake, it has been revealed to be in fact fake. And Mike Kennedy went into hiding. He's the person who came up with the idea of it. Went into hiding for about a month. Resurfaced just as we were going to press. So we've got a little bit of information here, but it's a kind of story which is going to run and run for the next couple of months, I think.
Yeah, we managed to get hold of John Lester, who's the person who originally developed the packing game for the original VGS.
Yeah, which was Tiny Night. So yeah, it's an interesting tale which a lot of people have been following. So that's our take on it. We sadly lost David Marshall as well, who was basically involved with digital integration, and they made loads of cool flight sims back in the early 80s. Oh, this is cool actually. I mean, that collection is insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's got multiple sets of ODST armour. That's plural as well. And
because you never need one set of armour. It's always handy to have a backup. And this guy's collection is all PC stuff, and it's absolutely astonishing.
It's quite a PC issue we've got, actually, haven't we? Quite.
Yeah, we got some cool PC stuff in it. So it's always nice if you can have a little sub thing running through the issue.
Yeah.
So of course, moving on to the big feature, it's 20 years of Quake. So is that something you fancy commenting on, Drew?
Yeah. I mean, I played Quake 2 actually. Played a bit of that multiplayer, and I just really enjoyed it. It felt quite fast. It just felt more fun than Doom to me. And this feature's really good because Ian's interviewed John Romero, Graham Devine, Adrian Carmack, and Todd Hollinshead. So all good major players in the series. And we've got my favourite page in the entire mag, which is this infographic on all the mods and games that Quake inspired. Not all of them, but there's a good selection there.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the interesting things with Quake is that it didn't necessarily do things for us, but it did them really, really sodden well, and it kind of refined everything that came before it. And so again, multiplayer gaming was around before Quake was a thing, but it just refined it, particularly with Quake 3. And Quake 4 was a bit disappointing, but when you look at the first 3 games, they were all basically genre definers when they came out. So the feature obviously speaks to the guys behind the guys. We've got things like essential Quake mods. We've got a look at QuakeCon, which is still running today.
I mean, your game's got to be good if you've got a convention named after it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all in all, it's a fantastic article. Really pleased with how it turned out, and it's nice to get, like you said earlier, some PC love in the mag.
Yeah.
So moving on, another game that I used to love in the arcades when I was a kid is Renegade. As you can see here, it started off as part of the Kunio-kun series in Japan, and because it was effectively kids fighting kids in college, and you can't really do that in the West, so they kind of adopted this. In fact, I'm pretty sure we've interviewed the guy behind Renegade, and I'm pretty sure they just ripped off the subway scene from Warriors, classic 70s movie.
Well, yeah, that's obvious. Well,
you've only got to look at that.
Take a look at it,
And yeah, it's a really brutal beat 'em up. It's got a 3-button system, so depending on which way you're facing, you'll either punch or you'll do a back kick. 3D Star Strike. Now this is quite cool.
Looks a bit like Star Wars, doesn't it?
Well, this is it, Drew. I mean, back in the 80s, when I was a kid, you didn't worry about getting things like licenses. You just copied it, and you just hoped that nobody would notice.
Yeah, why not?
And again, when you look at how a lot of developers got into the industry, they started by copying their favourite games. So effectively, this deals with the sequel as well, but it is effectively just Star Wars. So continuing on with License to Thrill.
Crime is a disease. He is the cure.
Have you ever seen Cobra?
No, I haven't seen Cobra, but it looks god awful.
It's a terrible movie. However, the actual game is really bloody good. It's by the late Jonathan Joffa Smith, and who's sadly no longer with us. But he made some absolutely astonishingly technically proficient games on the Speccy, which was really, really good fun to play. Did a lot of amazing arcade conversions. I mean, the actual game you can define, and it's actually got a murder button.
A murder button?
Yeah, a murder button. How cool is that? Attack Attack. This is another classic Ultimate game from back in the day.
Oh, you love Ultimate, don't you?
Oh, well, of course you got to have a little bit of Ultimate in the mag, and you probably saw me playing this when Rare Replay came in. Although for the most part, I was playing Saber.
It was Saber Wolf, like flavour of the day, but
I love Saber Wolf, but yeah,
never finished it though, have you?
It's really hard. It's like the Dark Souls of its day. So moving swiftly on, the VIC-20 is amazingly 35 years old. So we've got a feature which not only speaks to some of the guys involved with the creation of the machine, but also speaking to the many homebrew coders who are now giving it a new lease of life.
There are some amazing quotes in this. Like, it's a weird senile grandpa that needs some more homebrew love.
Okay then, Top Gear. Nothing to do with the BBC TV show, but everything to do with an amazing SNES racer, which is basically an update of the Lotus Challenge series on Amiga. It's most noticeable when you look at the game, and if you squint a little bit, it kind of looks very similar to the Amiga one, but it's also got enhanced tunes, which are basically based on the original Lotus ones, and they sound absolutely phenomenal. So if you ever needed any further proof that the SNES was better than the Amiga, controversial, just listen to the soundtrack, because it is absolutely fantastic. Lots of punchy bass and just really, really exciting tunes.
Oh, Desert Strike, yeah. The attack of the killer, like, creme brulees. I actually remember this one. This is one I remember because my dad came home and bought it, and I was looking forward to playing it, and I couldn't get my dad off my Mega Drive. To this day, he might still be playing it.
Yeah, it was originally known as Beirut Breakout, and at the time, according to the developers, EA were quite surprised that they could make a game called Desert Strike Return to the Gulf about warfare in the Gulf, and that people were quite upset about the content. They couldn't understand why anybody was like getting angry about it.
Yeah, why would you get mad at that, you know?
But obviously it's a ultimate guide, so it's got all the usual bits, and it looks at all the different versions, because there's surprisingly quite a few. And we've also got an interview with Gerald Weatherup, who basically worked on the Game Boy version, as well as Mike Posen, who did the original game. You must have played.
Of course,
Super
Mario Kart.
It's Mario Kart.
It's Mario Kart
64. I always put Super on all of them for some reason.
Well, Mario tends to have Super on the end of everything before anyway. So.
Even I got told off by my daughter the other day because I said, "Do you want to play Super Mario Kart 8?" No, Daddy, but I wouldn't mind playing Mario Kart 8. Hands on her hips.
You've raised her well, Darran.
Minority Report. This is all dedicated to the Atari Lynx, one of my favourite handhelds, and a handheld which I foolishly sold not so long ago to fund a new camera I wanted to buy. And I started playing all these games again, and now I want to get a Lynx, but that'll be my fourth one, so I'll probably have to give it a break. Dead or Alive, what do you think of Dead or Alive?
I actually quite like Dead or Alive. Me and my partner, we play it quite often. It's when Dead or Alive, I think 5 came out.
I just think it's fun though. I mean, obviously, you know, there is obviously a lot of focus on the boobies and on the whole questionable outfits, and of course Dead or Alive volleyball, which we briefly tie on, but the actual mechanics, you know, they're solid enough because they're based on Virtua Fighter, aren't they?
Yeah, so, and anyone can pick it up and just mash the buttons and you make a combo or something. Or there's also the tactical depth and like the grapples and the holds and stuff as well for like more techie players. And
it's also responsible for the best screenshot.
Oh yeah, that's always good. Congratulations.
Which is basically some old guy getting his head kicked in at the same time by two young fighting ninjas. Oh, and the second best picture, which is a Tyrannosaurus Rex getting kicked in the face. So, you know, this is a game which has got a lot to give to people.
It's got a lot to give. It's got a hell of a lot to give. Like whatever the hell Zach's wearing there. He looks like a Teletubby with a... I'm not going to say what it looks like.
Yeah, they were probably the safest costumes that we could put in the magazine.
Yeah.
The penultimate feature is Croc, Legend of the Gobbos. Interesting story behind this, isn't there?
Yeah. Jez San claims that they came up with the idea of the 3D platformer before Nintendo.
Yeah, basically they pitched an idea of a 3D Yoshi kart game. Nintendo weren't too keen on doing it, So they carried on making Croc, and then Super Mario 64 appeared and was very similar to what they'd pitched to Nintendo.
Yeah.
So this was quite a long time in development, but unfortunately it obviously got beaten to the punch by Mario, so a lot of people obviously don't look at it as like an important platformer, but it has got an interesting story, which you can read in this month's Retro Gamer.
Bit of trivia here, because I went on Wikipedia before we came to the studio. There's a screenshot here of the voice actor of Croc. His name's Jonathan Harris, and you can see him in Sherlock as like the crazy guy who's trying to figure out how Sherlock survived his fall. And he's going to be in Star Wars Rogue One. So.
Oh, is it? I thought I recognised him. Let's move on to the last article. So this is Stuart Cox. The name might not be familiar to you, but he was responsible for a lot of the graphics on Gargoyles games. He gives some great insight into basically how things were put together and basically his work while he was there, because he started quite young, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
We lead off with the usual bits and bobs. So there's a retro revival on Popeye. We review the latest HD remake of Zelda.
Yeah.
There's a really cool box set by Revolution to celebrate their 25th anniversary, which has pretty much got all their big non-licensed games in. And then you've got the homebrew section. So that's everything for the month. But we'll just quickly go over to next month, shall we?
Yeah.
So next month, we got the story of Sega. And no, I'm not going to say it in a sing-song voice. But in addition to that, we've got lots of other cool stuff as well. So there's a making of the NES. There's the greatest ever moments of Ant Attack. You've got an interview with Ed Fries. He's like, I don't know, he worked on the Xbox and he also made an Atari 2600 version of Halo. That's pretty cool. We've got a Minority Report on the Commodore 64. We go inside, bring you a making of The Empire Strikes Back, which was the very first licensed Star Wars game.
Yep. And
it was the very first video game to have an attack that made it look like it was made out of Lego blocks. It's all good. We've got Metal Gear Acid 2. We've got a look at the history of Fatal Fury, Burger Time, License to Thrill Godfather, The Secrets of Speedrunning, and so much more. So that's your issue for the month. I'm Darran Jones.
And I'm Drew Sleep.
And we will see you next month.
Bye.